Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode, we're talking about Abu Dhabi, the great event that just happened. 2022, in my opinion, Abu Dhabi was the best event in Abu Dhabi history, and I've been watching it since the very first event. This event absolutely blew my mind, guys. Give me a thumbs up. Make sure that the sound is working. Give me a thumbs up, so I'm sure the sound is working. I'm gonna get into my analysis right away. Guys, the number one performance of the night, no doubt. I'm calling it the greatest performance in grappling history. And that includes the past performance of Marcelo Garcia, Machado, Jean-Jacques Machado's great performances. I'm putting Gordon Ryan as the greatest grappler of all time without a shadow of a doubt. Not only did he win 99 kilos and above, 99 plus, I think he's the first one to ever win 3 divisions. He also, on the same weekend, won the super fight. This has never been done before. Never has it been done before. You win your division and you fight the super fight on the same weekend. This has never been done before. Not only that, he submitted everybody save one opponent. And he beat everybody easily. He beat everybody easily. He made all his opponents look like blue belts, and that includes one of the greatest pound for pound competitors in Abu Dhabi history, in grappling history, Andre Galvao. Andre Galvao is one of the greatest grapplers, pound for pound, alive today. And Gordon Ryan was able to have him defending from the beginning all the way until he took his back and subbed him, finishing the great Andre Galvao. Now, I told you guys, I thought Gordon was going to win this match. I just didn't think it would be that easy. I did pick him to win, but even I was shocked about how easy he made it look. He beat Nicky Rod in the final. And Nicky Rod is a very, very, he's a great competitor. He's a very difficult guy to put away. He beat Pena. Yet Gordon Ryan was able to leg lock him with ease, absolute ease. He did nothing but basic moves. Every move he did, we all know what it is. And there's no secret here. He just simply, systematically used his skill in a way that we all know what he does. We all know his game. Yet nobody could resist his game. Nobody could even slow his game down. It was an easy victory, back-to-back victories. It looked easy. It looked like if they would have allowed him, I think he would have done absolute and won the absolute easily. I believe Abu Dhabi didn't allow him. I think he wanted to do 99 plus, absolute, and the super fight all in the same weekend. I don't think the logistics were possible. So they asked him just to do 99 and the super fight. Nobody's ever done this before. Nobody has ever done this before. Guys, that was the greatest grappling performance. For those of you who didn't see it, it's all over YouTube. Almost all the matches are on YouTube. That was the most impressive grappling performance I had ever seen. One of my favorite maneuvers he did the ashy slide, a maneuver I absolutely love. He did a collar tie. He won one of the matches in about, I think it was 10 seconds. He slides into the legs, outside heel hook. He won by 2 outside. He used 2 outside heel hooks. A move I would tell you is not. It's not an A++ move. It's a good leg lock, but it's not the best leg lock. Yet he's doing it with ease, and he's leg locking guys. And they're tapping. They're quitting immediately. They're not even trying to struggle against the leg lock. It seems like the leg lock is on tight. Nobody can resist it. Nobody wants to argue with that leg lock. They're just tapping. Incredible, guys. I'm going to talk about other divisions, other great performances, many, many surprises, many, many upsets in Abu Dhabi this year, 2022. However, guys, I want to hear from you guys on Gordon Ryan's performance, guys. Let me know what you think. I want to take a moment here just to highlight this historical performance. Was it the greatest performance of all time? I think without a shadow of a doubt. Nobody can compare. Nobody's ever done anything like this. Nobody's won Abu Dhabi so easily. All right, guys. Thank you for the thumbs up. Why did Gordon Ryan make it look so damn easy? That's from Malhab. Guys, I have no idea. I've trained with the guy. Okay, he's amazing. He's great. He's fantastic. But even I didn't think he would win so easily. I thought he would win. Don't get me wrong. I thought Galvao could put points on the board. I thought Galvao would be more trouble. I'll tell you, though, when they were standing next to each other, I was amazed how Gordon would dwarf him. And Galvao is a very physical guy. He's he's an incredible athlete. Even though he's such a great athlete, it looked like Gordon was dwarfing him. But guys, let me know what you guys think. I have no idea why, like, all the techniques he uses, we know. I have no explanation. I understand how great. Listen, I've trained with a guy. He's amazing. He's super technical. He's strong. He's athletic. He's brilliant. His sequences are, his approach is amazing. Everything's fantastic. Yet still, I would expect him to struggle a lot more than he did. Even I'm shocked with the ease in which he won. I'm shocked. It's just, I expected him to win, but not so easily, not so effortlessly. How would Marcelo do in his prime, in his weight class at this ADCC? That's from Stephen Ong. Listen, pound for pound. I know you're talking about it in general, okay? Pound for pound, though, against Gordon, I would pick Gordon. Just, there's no doubt in my mind. He's the greatest pound for pound grappler ever. How would he do, let's say, in 77 kilo? I would say... I think I would, in his prime, and if we're talking about like, if we updated his techniques were up to date, let's say. I think Marcelo Garcia would win it. Yes, I think he would. After what I saw, I think he would. Cade Rotulu is a monster. He's a beast. But I do think Marcelo Garcia would eventually tap him or at least sweep him and get on top of him and just dominate the pass. Cade Rotulu is he also made it Abu Dhabi history. The youngest winner of all time. I believe he's 19 years old. Okay, correct me please in the chat room if I'm wrong. I believe he's he's 19 years old, not 20 years old. I believe he's 19 years old. The youngest winner in Abu Dhabi history. Guys, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was another historical moment in Abu Dhabi. I'm a fan of anyone who is great at something. I have become a Gordon Ryan fan this weekend. So fascinating to me. These people who are the very best at what they do. That's from Ad Awesome O. I totally agree with you. I'm going to rewatch his matches over and over again. But the mind-boggling thing is that we know these techniques. Like, we've drilled these techniques. Everybody knows these techniques. It's not like he's got this secret edge. Now, of course, his approach is really, like, he knows the minutia so well. He knows he makes the sequences. He's wise in his choices. But still, the fact that he made it look so easy, guys, I'm just like completely shocked, guys. And everybody I'm talking to, everybody who knows grappling, everybody, guys, we live and breathe grappling. I grapple, I do jiu-jitsu twice a day. I wrestle twice a day. I do MMA every single day, twice a day. It's inhuman how much jiu-jitsu we do. It's inhuman. It doesn't make any sense. I wonder, why do we do this so much? Yet he made it look so easy. And he's beating guys who dedicated their entire lives to jiu-jitsu. And he's making them look like blue belts. Guys, nobody's ever done this to this level before. I bet I could submit Gordon Ryan easy. That's from Claude1234. Claude, master of confidence. Coach, how does one become tough as a student, professional, to get rid of regret over past mistakes? That's from Ali. Ali, we're not covering that now. Guys, it's not time for Ask Me Anything. Now we're talking about Abu Dhabi. Guys, use promo code ADCC25. Get 25% off. Check out jujiclub.com and we're celebrating Abu Dhabi. Get 25% off on anything on the store. Okay? Guys, TriStar Digital is out. Check out the link in the description. There's also a promo code for TriStar Digital. How would Marcelo do? No. How would Marcelo do in his prime in his weight class at ADCC? I just answered that one. Talent plus hard work equals Gordon Ryan. That's from Azmi. Guys, that's true. It's very true. But there are other guys who are just as talented. Other guys who are working just as hard. There are so many fanatical jiu-jitsu guys out there. Yet still, he's head and shoulders above. Gordon wants to go into MMA eventually. That's from Christian Sean. I don't think he needs to. He's making plenty of money in Abu Dhabi. There's plenty of prestige in Abu Dhabi. I wouldn't damage that pretty face in MMA. MMA is going to be too dangerous. I mean, unless he goes and he fights in Asia and they give him a lot of guys he never heard of and he just beats them up and he gets a kick out of it, that could be great. But to try to like maybe make a run at UFC, like at 205 or something, guys, I think it's possible, but man, is it dangerous. That we're talking about like serious like danger. You can get your face rearranged type danger. I don't think he needs it. He doesn't need it at all. Stay in jiu-jitsu. Reach your total peak. Maybe do one more Abu Dhabi. Do a triple header. Do 99 plus. Do absolute and the super fight. All do something that nobody will ever be able to repeat. It will take 50 years before anybody ever repeats this. And retire. I wouldn't go into MMA. Personally, I think there's plenty of money for him to and plenty of prestige in jiu-jitsu. MMA is a dangerous, dangerous venture. How about Tyro Tulu guy beating Felipe Pena? Very impressive. That's from Khalil. Khalil, you are 100% right. Felipe Pena, much bigger, 99 plus, losing to Tyro Tulu. For those of you who didn't see the match, it was a back and forth match. Pena took a negative. What does that mean? He sat down. So you have a time period where you're allowed to sit down after, I think it's 10 minutes. Now the points are on. If you sit, you get a negative point. And he kind of got up to wrestle up Rotulo, and then he sat down. But you're not allowed to stand up for more than 3 seconds if you're going to sit back down. I'm not like super wise on the rules, but I kind of get it. Like I've heard the rules, I didn't like commit myself to learning the rules by heart or anything. But I remember like if you wrestle up and you sit down, there's a lot of rules, guys. There's so many rules. Like I can't understand why the Craig Jones Duarte fight, Duarte was getting penalized over and over again. And it makes no sense to me. He was getting non-stop penalty after penalty. Like, makes no sense. They were calling him for stalling. It makes no sense whatsoever. He was totally driving the passes. He was totally being aggressive. Anyways, I do agree with the penalty that he got. It didn't make sense. He did wrestle up. He was on his feet for longer than 3 seconds. He sat back down. Why did he sit back down? I guess he made a mistake. He looked a little bit tired. I think if he was standing up, it was costing him a lot of more energy. Maybe Tyro Tulu scores a point. It didn't happen. He sat down. I think he was a little bit tired. What about Rickson Gracie, coach? I know he is old generation, but when you say pound for pound, we hear some incredible stories from Rickson. Guys, for those of you who didn't grow up in jiu-jitsu 20 years ago, for those of you who are young in the game, when we were growing up in jiu-jitsu, when the first wave of jiu-jitsu players were growing up under the Gracies, that's my generation. Okay, so there was the Gracies. We had the jiu-jitsu boom. Jiu-jitsu took over the world in martial arts, the world of martial arts. And we were the first generation. We were hungry to learn jiu-jitsu. And the Gracies were teaching it to the world. Among others, but it was mainly the Gracies. We wanted to learn from the Gracies. Royce Gracie had won the UFC. We had jiu-jitsu fever. There wasn't any grappling tournaments yet. There was no grappling tournaments. There was just MMA fights, which we called Vale Tudo, and they were happening in Brazil. And now in the US, the Brazilians, Royce Gracie mainly, won UFC 1, UFC 2, UFC 3. He didn't win, but then he came back to win UFC 4. It was Gracie Mania. We grew up hearing that there was this secret training where all the Gracies would get together once a year. And we knew this because we were training with the Gracies. Okay, I had the privilege to be training under somebody who was training under Renzo. So he would hang out with Renzo and we'd go to New York and we'd get to hear stories. And the Gracies would all train together. And it was forbidden to talk about what happens in the training room, except they would all talk about Rickson. There were very few non-Gracies that were allowed in that practice room. And the only thing that you're allowed to hear about was the stories of Rickson. Rickson would dominate the practice room. And more than that, we'd have black belts, legitimate world champions that would go out and train with Rickson, would be invited to go train with Rickson, and they would tell us, they got killed by Rickson. They got killed. They said, we asked them, what'd you learn? We learned how to tap. That was their answer. And these are legitimate black belts. All saying that Rickson mopped the floor with them. They had no chance. Complete domination. Anybody who ever trained with Rickson just said the same thing. Then we would see Rickson fight. Those of you who don't know, he fought in Pride. He fought in Pride, and he did MMA in Pride. Now, if you guys go back and watch that, you're going to be like, hey, coach, this makes no sense. He has no wrestling. He has no striking. Guys, back then, a lot of people didn't have striking. Most fighters were one-dimensional. This is before the GSP era. Back then, they used to tell us, if you learn grappling, if you learn grappling and striking, you're going to water down your grappling. You don't need striking. You don't need wrestling. You just need jiu-jitsu. The first generation of jiu-jitsu practitioners, this is what we were told. We were told that anything else you do, even lifting weights, will water down your jiu-jitsu. Now, ultimately, they were wrong. Guys, now today we know modern MMA, you need striking, you need wrestling. People are wise to the jiu-jitsu, but back then, fights would end up on the ground. There was no strikers that had 10 years of wrestling. Okay, all the wrestlers were taking people down, and the grapplers would eventually sub them. This quickly changed, of course. After a dozen UFCs, mixed martial arts was really starting to take. Mixed martial arts was starting to take over jiu-jitsu practitioners. Jiu-jitsu practitioners started to lose. And of course, we quickly pivoted, and all of a sudden, we're all learning striking and wrestling, and we're doing modern MMA. But there was a period where it was up in the air, the question, because the jiu-jitsu guys were always winning. And Rickson Gracie, in the Pride events, never fought a modern-style martial artist. He would eventually get to the ground and sub them. Once he got the fight to the ground, guys, it was over. It was just done. So it kept true. I mean, he got these guys on the ground. He crushed them. How would he do in Abu Dhabi? Guys, if you look at his jiu-jitsu, it's kind of old school. It's very old school. So if you take that old school jiu-jitsu and you put in today's jiu-jitsu, I don't think it would survive. As great as he was. However, if you update him, if you say, look, his level compared to his peers in his time, he maybe beats Gordon Ryan. Like, he was like the Gordon Ryan. Like, the way Gordon Ryan is making it look easy against legitimate world champions. This is what we heard Rickson was doing. But there was no cameras then. There was no events. There was no Abu Dhabi. But it was the same kind of description, that he would armbar them, rear naked choke. Nobody could escape his top pressure. Nobody could stop the guard pass. Nobody could stop his sweeps. Nobody could stop his submissions. It was just exactly described of what we saw Gordon do is exactly how described him. So I don't know. I can't tell you guys. I can only speculate. But when we look at his jiu-jitsu, the footage we have of him today, that's really old stuff. But again, compared to his peers, he was untouchable. Okay, guys, I'm going to talk about the other divisions, okay? The biggest upsets. For me, I thought Nicky Ryan would win his division. 77. And he lost in the first round. Now, I think he lost because he got tired. And I still think that if you look at his match against Canuto, I mean, no excuses, okay? Canuto won. He won fair and square. No excuses. I just think that there was a strategical mistake by Nicky Ryan. Now, Nicky Ryan is super young, super talented. I think he's going to have his day in the sun, no doubt. However, I like to follow him online. I like to watch him. Like, he puts his live rolls. He's just crushing guys in practice. Just absolutely crushing guys. I think he didn't pace himself. He worked hard. He worked super hard. He just wasn't super efficient. He was super effective, not super efficient. These are two different things. Being effective and being efficient are two different things. I think this was the case. Now, I've had the privilege of rolling with Nicky Ryan. I could tell you his technique is pristine. I think he just overexerted himself, underestimated his opponent, and it bit him in the ass. That's what happened. I think he could have won this division. I also think he put on too much muscle, guys. Sometimes more muscle is not good. There's a level of muscle, guys, it's not good. But even that, I don't think that's the case. I think he has to rethink his training. I think he has to do more conditioning. Conditioning is paramount. It came down to conditioning. It came down to him overexerting himself, kind of shooting himself in the foot. And he just looked like he got a little bit tired. I think if he goes back to the drawing board, adjust this one detail, learns to be more efficient, and not just focus on being effective. Effectiveness is very important, but so is efficiency. It's a balance. Look at Gordon Ryan. He was incredibly effective. Still, he was incredibly efficient. Incredibly efficient and incredibly effective. You can't just go out there and try to be effective. You can't just go and spend energy trying to force your way onto somebody. It works some of the time, but sometimes it doesn't work. And, you know, I'll give you another example. Like the Rotolo brothers are both super effective, not super efficient. What does that mean, super efficient? If I try to teach a regular Joe, somebody who's not that athletic, to fight like the Rotulos, it wouldn't work. Effectiveness relies a lot on your athletic ability. Now, you could do a leg lock like Paul Harris. It's not going to work for you, though. Unless you're as big and as strong and you have as much torque as he does, it can work. It's effective. Yes, it works if you have that much torque to back it up. However, it's not efficient. Efficient is I can do more with less. Okay, that's the ultimate goal of jiu-jitsu. That's the ultimate goal. You know, today I was talking to one of my students and I was telling them I do this over that. And they were like, why? I'm like, well, because this particular move you're doing is a B move. What does it mean? It doesn't work on a bigger, stronger opponent. And I had just done the A move on my student. My student's like, well, I'm not bigger and stronger than you. I was like, yeah, no, I understand. You're not bigger and stronger than me. We're the same size roughly. I wasn't trying to say you're bigger and stronger, but it should work on somebody bigger and stronger. Don't forget for those of you who don't remember the initial principles of jiu-jitsu, okay? Gracie used to always say, you know, he gave us the standard for blue belt. A blue belt can beat an untrained. The definition of blue belt is you could beat somebody who's untrained but bigger and stronger. That's the basic level of jiu-jitsu, okay? Then after that, you have to beat somebody who's bigger and stronger and educated in jiu-jitsu. He's got skills. That's the ultimate goal. Does this technique work on somebody who's schooled bigger and stronger? Now, the Rotolo brothers are incredibly athletic. Nicky Ryan, incredibly athletic. Now, when you're competing in sports, that helps a lot. It totally helps. Super important. However, can you do those moves that they're doing if you're a regular Joe? In my opinion, a lot of them is a no. So in the pure sense of jiu-jitsu, it's not the A++ technique. And I'm not saying I know those techniques, or I just think jiu-jitsu hasn't discovered them totally yet. Totally. There are some A++ moves. When I tell somebody, hey, that move is an A++ maneuver, that means I believe that if I'm fighting somebody who's schooled, bigger and stronger than me, it'll work. I trust that move. That move will work for me. If I get to this position and I apply this maneuver, it will work. I have tested it against bigger, stronger, super athletic, very well educated grapplers. It'll work. That for me is A++. You can't get better than that. So I think the Rotolo brothers are fantastic. They're super effective, super technical. They're incredible. Their finishes are incredible. They have this amazing buggy choke. Always, you see if somebody passes their guard, they go right away into buggy. And even if they don't get it, you have to retreat. The man on top has to retreat. We saw a lot of buggy choke attempts. It's not easy now to just pass their guard and dominate them with a pass. They wrap you up in a submission that relies on you. You have to defend. And when you defend, they easily regard. It's a brilliant system. I love it, guys. I started doing buggy chokes myself. And I only do it when I'm super warmed up. I don't have their long legs, but I still manage to get it sometimes. And if I don't score the sub, it does allow me to regard. It's a fantastic system. I absolutely love it. Dennis couldn't even qualify for ADCC at this point. Are you talking about Dylan Dennis? How would Dylan Dennis do versus Gordon Ryan? That's from Dark T. Guys, it would be a submission. Easy. Guys, no joke here. Coach, do you think Gordon could accomplish the same thing if he wasn't using PEDs? That's from Justin Ava. Guys, a lot of these competitors are using PEDs. Okay, I won't lie to you. It's always something that's in the back of my mind. I personally, I've trained with instructors in the past that use PEDs, and I always had a doubt of everything they taught me. Like, I don't want to name names, okay, but I've trained with black belts that do PEDs, and I was always questioning their jiu-jitsu. I got to be honest, guys. I always question jiu-jitsu. The guys who I admire the most are the guys who don't do PEDs, and they're amazing. I take it as an instructor. I train a lot of regular people. I have to trust the techniques that I'm teaching them. I take that very seriously. Like, I'm teaching you how to take a man down, break his arm, choke him, pin him, leg lock him. I have to trust that what I'm teaching you is purely efficient. It's a quest, guys. We're always learning. We're always trying to go in the gym. Every time I roll, I learn something new, and I'm trying to find out like the minutia. But if I'm on steroids, I don't believe I can be a good instructor. I don't believe. Now, to be a competitor in Abu Dhabi at this level, guys, I'm telling you, there's probably a handful of guys who are not on PEDs. There's a handful. I think the vast majority are on PEDs. Now, how much PEDs are they on? I think some guys are on more than others. And some of them are flirting with death, in my opinion, guys. Some of them might be knocking off 10, 20 years off their life. 10, 20 years. Is it worth it? I don't think so. Personally, I would never do that. I don't think it's worth it. Could we say, no, guys, let's give them the benefit. Nobody's on PEDs. No, guys, we can't do that. It's gone to the point where there's more PEDs in jiu-jitsu than almost any other sport. There's probably more PEDs in jiu-jitsu than any other sport. And there's a lot of PEDs in sports, guys. I hate to tell you, for those of you who don't believe it, I mean, you've lost your mind. Like, you just really don't know anything about sports. You don't know anything about sports. I think as an instructor, if you're an instructor, you should never do PEDs. You're polluting your understanding of jiu-jitsu. If you're a competitor, I personally would never recommend PED use because I feel it's always health first. But if guys want to risk their health, I mean, that's their own prerogative. Now, for MMA, I totally condemn it. Why? Because you're taking PEDs and you're hitting another human being in the head. Jiu-jitsu, it's a lot safer. It's a lot safer, of course. They're not hitting each other. But I think a lot of these guys are going to end up, developing a cancer, destroying their liver. There's a long list of side effects when it comes to PED use, but they're competing on, most of them are competing on a level playing field because their opponents are using PEDs. Has there ever been a natural winner? Yeah, look, the Ratulu brothers are very young. I think they're natural. But there's a lot of guys who are not, in my opinion. And there are guys who are natural. And they make it to Abu Dhabi, guys. I have no doubt there are some. Hard work, dedication. Those guys, I tip my hat. Guys, I want to tip my hat. I want to praise the guys who are hardworking, intelligent, smart, talented. They made it all the way to Abu Dhabi naturally. I tip my hat to you. And even higher than that, guys, I want to tip my hat and salute all the MMA fighters who go all the way to UFC naturally without ever using PEDs before, after, or during UFC. Some guys, they get cut and then they get on PEDs. They make it back in UFC. Guys, I tip my hat to you. You guys are the best of the best, and you are not getting the credit you deserve. You're not getting the pay you deserve, because we know that without a shadow of a doubt, there are countless cheaters in UFC. When you sign a UFC contract, you are proclaiming that you're not on PEDs, even though you are. In Abu Dhabi, it's a known secret, guys. It's known. Everybody knows the other guy's on PEDs. They're expecting the guy on the PEDs. However, there are levels to this. Guys, there are levels to PED use. I just think that these guys, a lot of them are flirting with death. So I would never recommend to my students. If they do it, that's their own prerogative. But I would never recommend somebody to risk their health. I think it's irresponsible for any instructor to ever do that. Is the Liver King natty? Guys, if you think Liver King is natty, if anybody out there think Liver King is natural, you know nothing about training. You know nothing. Oh, he's got the 9, I don't know what he calls it, elements, and he eats only meat, and he exercises in the sunlight and all that. What nonsense. Nonsense, stupidity. Let me tell you, there's a new market out there. Let me tell you what that market is. Let's take advantage of really naive people. Let's inject ourselves with all sorts of hormones, pump weights, start an Instagram page, a YouTube page, and tell people we've discovered this new secret of how to get fit. By the time people figure out we're frauds, we'll already be rich. Guys, don't be so naive. Most of these Instagram followers, I would say 95% of them, are all using PEDs. I know a lot of these people personally. I've been in the proximity of Liver King. By the way, he's a very short guy. He's a very small guy. His abs are popping out. To get abs like this, guys, you need hormones. There's no doubt. I know. I've people send me videos of him. He's made a video saying that he's natural. It's total BS. The man is a liar. Guys, I know too much about training. I know too much about training to sit here and lie to you and try to give him benefit of the doubt. I'm telling you guys, he is not natural. It's a joke. It's an insult to our intelligence. The guy, he's just making money. He probably spends $1,000 or $2,000 on gear a month, and he probably makes like 20, 30 G's a month. You do the math. People out there are willing to do anything to make money, and Liver King is one of them. He's willing to lie to you, put you on a diet that makes no sense, has no research behind it, no science behind it, no long-term science behind it. Yes, of course, if you eat meat, I guarantee you he doesn't eat only meat. I guarantee you this guy, he eats all sorts of carbohydrates. He even at one point, he's eating syrup. Like syrup is a carbohydrate. It's going to spike your insulin. However, if you only eat meat, guys, of course you're going to be ripped. You're never spiking your insulin. It takes insulin to drive fat into the cell. But he's eating maple syrup. Guys, the guy's not natural. 100% unnatural. DC had 700 tests before John Jones fight. Everyone says he's natty. That's from Tom Jones. Well, I don't know that. I can't confirm that. If that's true, that's extremely high. Usually a natural male is like 1,000, I believe. I'm not sure. I haven't heard of that, but that would be extremely high. I would want to, I'd appeal to an expert on this, but that seems extremely, extremely high. Some people are in the chat are saying that Liver King has implants, like maybe ab implants. I've heard of the same thing, but it could just be hormones. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're implants. I know a guy personally who has ab implants. I find it ridiculous, guys. I find it so ridiculous. People have ab. I know a guy personally who has ab implants. Like I find it ridiculous. Like. So what? You're with a woman and she touches your abs and they're implants and that's supposed to wow her? I find the guys. This is another thing. I'm telling you guys, I'm not made for this world. Like I always tell St. Pierre when he tells me, St. Pierre loves to text me this woke stuff. He loves it. Every time he sees something woke, coach, look at this. He knows it pulls my strings. Like he knows. And I'm just not made for this world no more, guys. This is like absurd. This is like people do this. People put things silicone under their stomach because they want their abs to show. It's incredible, guys. Does PED disqualify you from GOAT discussion? That's from Creative Learning. Not in grappling, I would say. Look. And in MMA, UFC, absolutely. I think you should be banned for life. I think if you're tested positive for a substance and we have 100% proof you took an illegal substance, in my opinion, that's a crime. You should go to jail. Like that's assault. You hit another human being. It's a weapon. You're carrying a weapon, guys. Make no mistake about it. It's like faking that I'm a woman and going to the women's division and knocking out a woman, beating the hell out of a woman. I think you should go to jail. That's assault. I know there's a state or two in the U.S. that it's considered assault. If you get caught on PEDs and you competed in MMA and you cheated your way through and you through the tests and you got caught, it's assault. I can't remember which state. However, I totally agree with that. It's totally wrong. It's like bringing a weapon into octagon secretly. What if you loaded your glove? That's assault. You should go to jail. I think you should be banned for life. None of these slaps on the wrist. Oh, he's suspended for 6 months. And sometimes they don't even tell the public. I'm totally against it. Totally against it. Now, sometimes the test is like in a gray area. Okay, those guys, I don't think they should be banned for life. We should suspend them, make sure it's out of their system. I understand there could be a gray area. But if we have 100% proof, if we know you, we caught you red-handed, you should be banned for life. You're pumping yourself up full of hormones. And then going into a competition where you're allowed to hit another human being in the head, I totally disagree with this. What did you think about the Mika versus Cade final? That's from Aladdin 18. Guys, that was an incredible match. If you didn't see it, Cade hits an incredible heel hook. And you know what? Those are the kind of heel hooks I think work best. You go from 0 to 60. I know it's dangerous. I know he popped Mika Galvao's leg. Like when I do a heel hook in practice, I always go 0 to 1, 0 to 2, 0, like slowly, I gradually put the heel hook on. But if you really want to win with a heel hook in professional competition, the heel hooks are done differently than in a practice room. In a practice room, I always tell guys, go slow, ease up, like just hold it tight. Don't even crank because you can break a man's leg. I've seen guys' legs break, you know. But in competition, guys, heel hooks, it has to be 0 to 60, quick, fast, explosive. Cade did it correctly. That's how you break a guy's leg. Like, you know, you have to be aware as the guy competing, you know, you're competing at the highest level. That's how they're going to do leg locks. You got to tap immediately. If the guy transitions to leg locks, he has the proper angle. You must tap. It's your responsibility to tap. But Cade put on that leg lock in a way that, man, very hard to escape. Extremely impressive performance. Liver King admits his abs are plastic surgery. And he's on test. That's from Ryan Mora. Well, I remember somebody sending me a video asking me if he's natural. And because he was posting a video saying he's natural. I remember watching it. And he was kind of mocking it. Like he had like fake needles sticking in the meat and saying, no, I don't do it. First he was saying, yeah, I do it. He was talking sarcastically. Obviously the video is supposed to be comical. And then he's kind of like, hey, hard work or whatever. He's kind of praising his system. I think it's total BS. You don't hear any Gracies giving Gordon Ryan props. That's from Rick Deckard. Well, you know what? The thing is with the Gracies, I think they're really against PEDs. Ultimately speaking, I know some of them do PEDs, I'm sure. But like the big names, the old school guys, they don't like the PED thing. So they're not going to give props to somebody who's on the PED usage. Like I think that they kind of have a beef with that. Okay, but I don't want to speak for them, but that's my understanding. There should be a grappling competition for natural athletes. That's from Brandon Foster. I totally agree. I totally agree with this sentiment. Like there's bodybuilding for natural bodybuilders. Have you guys ever seen natural bodybuilding? It's totally different. Like there's 1 year natural and there's 5 year natural or some standard. And they don't look anything like the regular bodybuilding. Like it's just not the same level. And some of them, it's only 1 year you have to be natural. That's absurd. Liver King has butt cheek implants. That's from Gregory Leclerc. Any man who has butt cheek implants, guys, if you have butt cheek implants, something's wrong with you. Guys, something is wrong. I don't want to be judgy. I hate to be judgy. But guys, something is wrong, man, with your psyche, man. Something is definitely wrong with your psyche if you have butt implants. Did you think Ty did enough to win his final match versus Mirgali? That's from The Myth. Look, I thought Mirgali won, but Ty did amazing. I just thought Mirgali did win. He had the better exchanges. But again, Mirgali's bigger, but it's an absolute division. That's like you're not supposed to go by weight. So Ty ended up getting bronze. I believe the match for third place was forfeited by Cyborg. I'm not sure why he forfeited, but he did end up wrestling. Guys, another match was Devin Larat. He wrestled some other YouTuber. Juji, what's his name? Guys, you got to watch this match. I wrestled Devin Larat. Check out my channel. I wrestled Devin Larat. Great guy. He trained with me for a boxing match. Hold on. He wrestled another super YouTube influencer. Guys, all I want to say, it's not that easy to top Devin Larat. He has judo experience. He has some grappling experience. He tapped that other YouTuber, the fitness guy, super bulky, super strong, athletic guy. And Gordon Ryan was coaching him. What's his name? Hold on. Devin versus Juji. His name was Juji something. Hold on a second. Juji Mufu. Okay, Juji Mufu is like a fitness superstar athlete. And he wrestled at Abu Dhabi against Devin Larat for fun. And guys, Devin just crushed him, man. I'm telling you guys, he's an incredibly... Obviously, he's arguably one of the greatest arm wrestlers of all time. He world champion left hand, right hand. The guy's incredibly strong. I did a video. I wrestled him. I did one narrated and one not narrated. If you guys want to watch it without the narration, just look at the description. There's a link to the non-narrated video. But the guy is freakishly strong. I remember me taking his back, and I couldn't even wrap my legs around him. And he was grabbing my hand, ripping it off. I ended up doing an Ashi slide, the same maneuver Gordon did to win his... one of his matches at 99 plus. He hit a beautiful Ashi slide, won in like 10 seconds. A beautiful maneuver. I teach it actually in Ashi Infinity. You guys can see it on the top corner of your screen. It says Ashi Infinity Volume 1. Ashi Infinity Volume 2, I teach that very Ashi slide. It's a beautiful maneuver. It's a great maneuver to do on big, strong guys. Guys who are much taller than you. It's easy to slide underneath, grab the heel. That's what I did on Devin. Of course, I'm much more experienced than Devin. I live and breathe jiu-jitsu. I'm doing jiu-jitsu 4 or 5 hours a day. He's an arm wrestler. Of course, he has a background in grappling, but he doesn't have as many hours. And a lot of people, I love the comments. Of course, every time one of my videos goes viral, people who don't know what they're talking about, you get a lot of noobs. You get a lot of guys. Oh, he would have killed you if he was really trying. He would have. Look, of course, he wasn't trying his best, and I wasn't trying my best. Like, we're being nice to each other. We know each other. We're entertaining you guys. But listen, I've rolled with him. I've rolled with big guys. Super athletes. Guys, I subbed them off camera as well. Like, it's not like, oh, I get subbed off camera and then on camera they let me. It's not like that, okay? It's not like that. We're rolling. We're having fun. We're training in practice. Believe me. I've wrestled, I don't want to name names. Practice room, we keep it private. But no, it's not uncommon for a guy who trains 8 hours a day, 4 or 5 hours a day, every day for 20 plus years. Okay, you're going to sub a guy, even though he's bigger than you guys. Wrap your minds around it. Martial arts works, okay? Martial arts does work. Like, it's so amazing to be. Every time a video goes viral, you get 1,001 noobs saying, oh, well, he could have. Yeah, we're not doing MMA. We're not punching each other. Of course not. If we're punching each other, I would behave differently. Obviously somebody with a lot of hours in MMA fighting somebody who's a super athlete who doesn't have a fraction of those hours. I understand if you put as many hours as me. Okay, yes. His size and strength is going to be a major factor. Big problem for me. What I'm saying is, obviously, you have 10,000 hours in a sport, and a guy comes in, he's got only 1,000 hours. What do you think is going to happen? Even though he's bigger, stronger, very athletic. Guys, it's like that almost in every sport. If you put 10,000 hours in basketball and some guy who's like super athletic, tall, explosive, he's not going to do as well as a guy who's put in 10,000 hours. Are you going to vote for Legault, coach? Guys, let's talk politics shortly, okay? I want to finish up with Abu Dhabi. We're 44 minutes in. Guys, there were so many great matchups. So many. I want to hear from you guys. What was the biggest upset of Abu Dhabi? Put it in the description, please. What was the biggest upset of Abu Dhabi? Coach, do you trim your hair daily? No, I don't actually. I trim my beard probably twice a week. Once every 2-3 weeks. And my hair every 2-3 weeks, maybe every month. I hate when my hair is long. I can't stand it. My wife likes it, but I can't stand it. PJ Barch versus JT Torres. Guys, hats off to PJ Barch. He beat JT Torres, the former Abu Dhabi champion. Guys, that was a major upset. Props to Chris F. Guys, I totally forgot about that match. I was very shocked. Very shocked. Not that PJ Parch, great. Okay, the guy's amazing. But JT Torres is an OG, man. He's an original. And I thought JT Torres can win it again. Okay, now my personal pick, even though I have a student, then of course I back him up. I just felt that some of the guys are just more experienced, that among other reasons. But I thought Taza could win it. Yes, absolutely, Oliver Taza. However, my pick was Nicky Ryan. I thought he was just his style was going to work really well. And especially for Abu Dhabi rules, that style that Nicky has, I think is great for Abu Dhabi rules. But it wouldn't have surprised me if JT Torres won it and PJ Barch beat him. Very surprising. Absolutely very surprising. Gary Tonin, yes, round one. That's from ANZ, yes. I think it was McNeely. I guess I've never seen McNeely roll until this event. He's a very interesting grappler. He beat Gary Tonin. Now Gary Tonin dropped down to 66. Guys, that must have been an incredibly hard weight cut. When I heard he was going down to 66, I didn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend that, to be honest with you. Now, I'm making no excuses. I just want to highlight that Gary Tonin was at 66 kilos. Very difficult weight class for him, I think, to be healthy and strong at. And one of Tonin's attributes is that he doesn't stop moving. And it's gonna be hard after cutting that much weight, man, to have that style of his. What else we got here? Bodani versus Hulk was a big one. That's from I don't know. I think I would pick Bodani to beat him. Guys, Bodani from New Wave, Giancarlo. That was actually I watched that match today. That was such a great match. No, I honestly I would pick Bodani. I love the fact that Bodani won it against Hulk. Atos versus New Wave. New Wave won 3 titles and Atos 2. That was the tiebreaker. That was like the one that was a toss-up. Who's going to win this one? And I would pick Bodani, man. I think he's a phenomenal grappler. He's really up and coming. I've heard so much about how good I've never trained with him, but I've heard he does amazing in the practice room. John Denhar's talked to me very highly about him. Very, very highly. And, man, he got to win. And from what I've heard about him, it didn't surprise me. Ethan versus guys, forgive me for pronouncing the name. I won't even try because I know I'm going to get it wrong. But that's from Cesar Parafan. One of my students, Ethan Krelliston, he lost the first match. I heard he had the back, and they didn't score the points because it was a bit off, and then he lost to an armbar. Guys, big upset. But look, I'll tell you one thing. No excuses again, but Ethan just came off a ACL tear. He could barely make it to Abu Dhabi. Like his knee, of course, the recovery, it takes about a year to really get the muscle back in your leg. It's a complicated injury you don't want. Guys, make sure to get strong and stable knees for life. It's on jujiclub.com. Guys, make sure you get it. Keep your knees strong and stable for life. I have another student who competed and he tore his ACL and he wasn't doing the program. I'm telling you guys, after today, actually speaking to him today, he came in today holding a crutch. I told him, after you get this surgery, you never injure your knee again. You go the rest of your life training jiu-jitsu without injuring your knee again. I warn these young kids over and over again, don't let your ACLs tear. I see ACLs snap all the time. I've been on the mats 20 years. Don't wait to break your ACL to realize, hey, I got to do prehab. Stability is king, guys. You got to do stability training. The number one stability training program in the world is Strong and Stable program. The number one in the world. Every other stability program, they don't go far enough. They don't scale the stability program high enough. Mine is absolutely absurd. Mine, you have to I eventually bring you to standing on the ball, on the stability ball. I even jump up on the ball. Not that I recommend it. It's a forbidden exercise, but I jump on a stability ball. I think if you could jump on a stability ball, your knees are as prepared. Your knees are as prepared as possible. You have the most margin of safety possible. I can't see us progressing any further without it taking away from our sport way too much. I've seen a guy do a backflip off the ball. Now, I just think that's absurd because the amount of practice is going to take you to get that level. You might as well give up jiu-jitsu. It's going to take a long time to get to that level. Are you surprised Craig Jones beat Mergali? No, I'm not surprised. Guys, I thought Craig Jones did an incredible performance. I thought he did amazing. I actually thought he would beat Duarte, even though it wasn't the case. I thought he was going to win it all. After I saw his first two performances, when he was going into the final, I'm like, oh, this is his year. He's going to get it. And I was hoping, really hoping he'd win. But unfortunately for him, he didn't make it. Coach, my LCL doesn't want to heal. That's from Ans. Ans, if you're having chronic pain, go see a physiotherapist, but also pick up strong and stable knees for life. Guys, I believe that strong and stable knees is better than going to a physio. But I would recommend first go through a physio because maybe you have a problem you need to figure out, and then make sure you get strong and stable knees. Guys, I put my life on this program. I'm telling you, it's so simple. It's so easy. I never go to a physiotherapist. I haven't gone to a physiotherapist in over 10 years. I have no knee problems. I don't want to get into a philosophy of my knee, protecting my knees, but I'm telling you, I go into it in the video. There's a podcast section. There's a 1 hour of exercise and then 1 hour podcast section where I explain to you in depth how to protect your knees. This program is the best protection you can get for your knees. Absolutely bar none. And I've trained with top trainers all around the world. And I will say this to physiotherapists directly to them. I don't think that their programs are strong enough because the level of difficulty is here. Grappling stability requirements are up here. No physio will tell you to jump out up on a ball. They can't do it themselves. They've never experimented with this type of progression. To them, they'll be like, hey, that's too extreme for us. Because 99% of their clientele are people who sit behind a desk. Even if they work with athletes, they've never experimented with this level of stability. Anyways, I don't want to get into that because it's a tangent. But I hate seeing young grapplers injure their knees. I absolutely hate it. Craig did good. Kynan is a beast, though. That's from Tom Jones. Guys, I totally agree. Kynan is a beast. I love you for us. I don't have a question. That's from Tyler Murray. Why, Tyler? It's not Valentine's Day yet. Thank you, but thank you anyway. Duarte was stalling hard. I don't like this type of BJJ. That's from ANZ. I don't know if he was stalling hard, man. That was some good top pressure. I think they gave him a lot of negative points that weren't merited. I don't know. That was my take on it. Okay, guys. We're 53 minutes in. What an Abu Dhabi, guys. I didn't do it justice. There were so many great matches, so many great fights to talk about. It's just overwhelming. I'm still watching some of them. I'm rewatching them. It was incredible, guys. Lots of crazy subs. Cade Ratulu subbing everybody. Making Abu Dhabi history. The youngest Abu Dhabi champion in history. And he subbed everybody. Gordon Ryan putting up the greatest performance in Abu Dhabi history. And I think he's going to top this performance in the next one. The jiu-jitsu community has 2 years to not allow this to happen. Guys, Gordon Ryan humiliated the competition. He humiliated the competition. Imagine doing something your entire life and having a guy walking in on the mat and just dismantling you. Guys, that's a tough pill to swallow. It's a very tough pill to swallow. I think he's going to do it again. I don't think anybody can stop him. And we don't know why. Until we understand why, nobody's stopping this man. Okay, guys, I'm ready to open it up to absolutely anything. Guys, it is late for me. It's 11:15, so we're not going to go too hard, too long. But let's open it up. Let's have some fun. Did you catch the Wrestling World Championships? No. That's from Woon Weg. Unfortunately, I haven't watched it yet. I got so many things to watch, so many fights to watch, so many grappling tournaments to watch. But Abu Dhabi for me was the weekend, guys. I did watch the UFC as well, but I was really glued to Abu Dhabi. Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. Guys, Anderson Silva is like 50 years old now. I really hope Anderson Silva wins. He should win this, even though he's 50. Okay, but again, the guy's 50, so I can't tell you I know what's going to happen. People say Rickson Gracie submits 100 black belts. in a seminar, one after the other. Unbelievable. Has Gordon surpassed this physical feat? Please explain the levels. That's from Varen. Varen, I already did. I'm not going to go over it again, okay? But I can only speculate. I wouldn't be surprised if he submitted 100 black belts. Guys, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. But I definitely believe Gordon Ryan can do it. No doubt. Guys, did you see what happened? Guys, there are black belts and then there were world-class black belts. A lot of the guys in Abu Dhabi could submit 100 black belts. A lot of them. Especially if we're allowing heel hooks here. A lot of guys, there's so many black belts out in the world. They don't know anything about heel hooks. Sometimes black belts come to my gym and I roll with them and I leg lock them like literally every minute. Literally every minute. You can be a white belt in leg locks because your jiu-jitsu is old school. I get bored of leg locking them. I just forget, I'm gonna stop leg locking you because you don't know anything about leg locks. Why? They got their black belt 5-10 years ago and they never learned leg locks and their teachers forbid leg locks, or they come from the gi and now they're trying no gi and their game is, they have a technique gap. They have a hole in their game. It's just like my blue belts will leg lock them. I've had really good black belts come from Brazil, literally from Brazil, and get just leg locked after. Guys, it's just a bald spot some guys have in their game. Now, in Rickson's era, he was upper body submitting. Don't get me wrong, Rickson had good leg locks. Rickson has scored leg locks. We know that for a fact. He did in Pride. However, he was well known for his upper body submissions. It doesn't surprise me. Gordon would do it today. Many guys in Abu Dhabi would do it. If they go in a regular practice room in a seminar with 100 black belts, yes, they can sub 100 black belts. There are levels to black belts. All right, guys, what else we got here? Pardon my yawn, guys. Do you think Abu Dhabi should drug test? Do you think steroids are a big problem in grappling? That's from Brian Leclerc. Look, in a perfect world, yes, but it's be super expensive. I know it's backed by, they call it Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, the state, the country, the United Arab Emirates. Yeah, they can afford it. It wouldn't be an afterthought. I think it would be the better scenario. Why? Because the thing is, look, I'll be honest with you guys. I think when I turn 50, I might start taking testosterone. I'm going to talk to my doctor. I want to stay healthy for a long time. I just came from a doctor's checkup. My doctor checked me up. He's like, you're 30. He's freaking out. He's like, you're 40. You're 42. He was freaking out. He's looking at my chart. He's like, you're healthy as a 30-year-old, is what he told me. Now I have other tests to do. I had a little breathing issue. I had like asthmatic symptoms, tightness in the chest, tightness in the airway. A weird thing. I don't know. I got tested for COVID. It wasn't COVID. I'm not supposed to say that word. I tested for the cold that was going around that almost ended the world economically. It wasn't that. So now I'm doing a couple of more tests, but health-wise, I'm super healthy, so I'm not touching this stuff. However, as my health starts to decline, I'm going to go see an endocrinologist and see, I don't want to take it for performance. I want to take it for keeping my health. Is it going to make me healthier? Then I would take it, but not to make myself a juggernaut and increase my performance tenfold. But I've never done it in my life. No. I think when I do it, it's only going to be to keep my levels normal. Now, when you compete, you're not doing it to keep your levels normal. You're doing it because you want to increase performance. So I'm competing. I have a rival. He's taking some. I'm taking some. And then it becomes a race. I'm going to take a little more than him. Or he's going to take a little more than me. And then we start flirting with the line. How much can I take without dying? Now, I'll tell you guys something. There are a lot of serious side effects. Like when you take synthetic testosterone, your testicles will turn off. You have to get off your testosterone and go through a post-cycle treatment to get your testosterone, your testicles working again. If you don't, guys, you will lose your testicles. You can have liver damage. You can poison your liver. You could lose your erection permanently. Like, the health problems you can have is not worth it. The arms race, the fact that these kids are competing, they're gonna go too close to they're gonna fly too close to the sun. Sooner or later, we're gonna have a death. We're gonna have a premature death. An athlete that's gonna die. It's gonna be all over the news. Oh, a young athlete dead. If you have cancerous cells in your system, in your body, and you're on testosterone, what do you think is gonna happen? Those cells are gonna multiply super fast. If you have an aggressive cancer, it's gonna kill you immediately. If you're on a lot of steroids. There are dangers. We're making it a norm for these young kids. We're making it normal. Oh, you want to be jiu-jitsu? You want to reach the top? Well, here's the standard protocol. You're going to train twice a day. You're going to come in every day. We're going to inject you with these. That's what happens. You go to these clubs. That's what they do. Oh, you're a competitor? Well, you need to get on this stuff. These young, naive kids don't know what they're getting into. All of a sudden, they're addicted to this stuff. They have psychological changes that go about. They don't know what they're doing. They're pumping themselves full of chemicals. They're not that smart. They're not that well educated in what they're taking. Serious repercussions, guys. Serious. It's going to be a stain on the sport eventually. Eventually. Believe me. Guys, I want to give my deepest condolences to the Theodoro family. Elias Theodoro. Guys, last week I didn't do a podcast. I was at the Elias Theodoro funeral. For those of you who don't know, he's one of my students. He was a top-ranked UFC fighter. Very sadly, he recently died from cancer. He had a very aggressive cancer that took over his body. It's in his family. Okay, he has cancer on both sides. Very sad story. So I want to extend my deepest condolences to the family and all those who knew him well. He was a great human being, guys. I didn't do a podcast last week. Just because of this. Okay, I went to the funeral, so I was on a time crunch as well, but also my heart was definitely not in the place to do a podcast for that very reason. This week, I'm super happy to be back with lots to talk about in Abu Dhabi. We have a bunch of super chats that just came in. Let's see what we got here. This one is from Jason. How can someone go to hell for committing crimes if he was predisposed to do them biologically? Determinism, genes related to criminology. Our friend Jason here is dropping a philosophical question. If everything is determined, if everything you do, guys, this is a very well understood thought in philosophy, okay? All philosophers, we all agree. We all agree to this. Now, I'm going to say something. You guys might be like, Coach, that sounds weird. No, I'm telling you guys, at the highest level of thought, they all agree. Everybody agrees to this. One philosopher said it best. I'm forgetting his name, but he said, look, you either agree with determinism or you don't understand it. Determinism basically says, if I could put it in a nutshell, they're saying, look, you always succumb to your highest pleasure. Whatever is the greatest pleasure for you, that's what you're going to do. And your pleasure is determined by your genetics, and B, your environment. If I know everything about my son's personality, if I know everything about him, and he walks into 3 flavors to choose from, chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla. I know everything about my son. His environment, he only has 3 possible choices. I'm his father. I know everything about him. I've watched him grow up. I know how his mind works. Let's say some philosophers argue, okay, if you have the point of view of God, you know everything in the world. You know every single motion of every atom in the world. I'm gonna get to this point a little bit later. You know what he's gonna choose. Does the fact that he has a predisposition to loving chocolate more than any other flavor, and the fact that those were the only items for him to choose, does that mean that he had no choice in the matter ultimately? Does determinism mean you have no choice in the matter? Now, there was a man named Isaac Newton. He gave us the 3 laws of motion. And when he gave us the 3 laws of motion, it gave us all a paradigm shift. All of us started converting to determinism. All of us, everybody, every thinker around the world started saying, hey, we are determinists. Now, before Isaac Newton, there was another great thinker named Imam Ghazali. Imam Ghazali said the same thing, only about 600 years before. Imam Ghazali said, look, human beings are just puppets on a string. Why is that? Why do you say that? Well, the Arabs had something called a water clock. I shouldn't say Arabs, okay, because they weren't all Arabs. I should say the Muslims had something called a water clock. A water clock is Basically, they use water to create a sequence of events, a chain of events, a causal chain that's eventually going to ring a bell. It's going to ring chimes. And that's how the Muslims knew it was prayer time. So they would fill the water up and estimate how much water they would need because they wanted to ring in about an hour or two, or 5 hours from now, or 7 hours from now. And Ghazali, in his memoirs, he talks about how the whole world is a sequence of events, one event pushing another. And he says those sequence of events are pushing our very thoughts. He goes, your thoughts, in a sense, he was talking about how they're a mechanical byproduct of all the things going on in the brain. Think of dominoes striking one another. This sequence of events, a ballet of events, it all comes down to a chain reaction of events. And these events started long before you ever existed. He didn't know anything about genetics, but he was alluding to the fact that we're always doing what is our greatest desire, and we don't choose what our greatest desire is. So give me anything. I remember we were talking about this in university, and one girl came up and she protested and she says, no, I prefer Coke, but I drink Diet Coke. I don't always succumb to my greatest desire. And, I raised my hand to answer her. I was like, well, your desire to lose weight is your greatest desire. It overcomes your desire for Coke. So you chose Diet Coke, even though you like Diet Coke less. But your greatest desire is to lose weight. Not that it's the best way to lose weight, but in her mind, that she drinks Diet Coke, she's going to lose weight. Ultimately speaking, you're always choosing your greatest desire, and your greatest desire is a byproduct of two things. One, your genetics, and two, your environment. Now, even the atheists, okay, it's a very Muslim idea. Like if you read the Quran, I'll give you guys, I know a lot of you guys listening to this are atheist or Christian or Jewish or you're Buddhist or you're something else. But I'll tell you something. In the Quran is a incredibly deterministic. The first thing God creates in the Quran is the pen. Meaning, if you were to write a movie is determined. There's a script. Those actors on the screen are not improvising. They're reading a script. It's all planned. We know how the movie's going to end. We know every scene. We know how many shots this guy's going to fire. We know exactly the way. That's how this world is. Our daily lives are scripted. It's determined by what? The laws of nature. Things that are pushing you, the causal chain of events, the three laws of motion. Guys, even atheists agree to this. What's his name? Richard Dawkins. He says, look, we dance to the beat of our genetics drum. Our genetics are drumming. Our genetics are drumming a beat. And you dance to it. You're also a puppet. Like Ghazali said 600 years before. Actually more. 1,000 years before. We dance to the beat of the drum. The drum beat of our genetics. Everything is genetics. They boil it down. Like the questioner here says. You have a gene for crime. Should we punish you? Now, I'm telling you guys, this is such a Muslim idea. Okay, when a man was captured for committing a crime, he came to Umar bin Khattab, the Khalifa, the king of the Muslims, and he said to him, don't punish me. I'm determined to commit this crime. I had no choice to commit this crime. And I love the response from Umar bin Khattab, one of the greatest figures in history. Remember, he's a determinist. Muslims were all determinists. We're all hardcore determinists. He said, you're right. It wasn't your, you have no choice. This was your destiny to commit this crime. But he said to him, we have no choice. We're determined to punish you. We're also determined to punish you. We have no choice in the matter. Now, what does this all mean? Coach, how could you say, I'm drinking this water. I feel like I'm deciding to drink this water. Physics tells us, guys, if you don't know the philosophy of physics, stay silent about what I'm about to say, okay? Find me any philosopher of science and bring him to me and see if he disagrees about the next comment I'm going to make. They will not disagree. Bring me a philosopher of science and he will not disagree. If you don't know anything about philosophy of science, Be very humble if you try to bring up a point against this, okay? Because it's very well established. For me, reaching out and drinking this glass of water, a physicist would tell you we could have predicted that. This is Pierre-Simon Laplace. Read the writings, the essays of Pierre-Simon Laplace. They call him the French Newton. Guys, I mentioned this on Joe Rogan and the whole internet broke. And all these internet morons. I got a lot of emails from a lot of PhDs praising me, and a lot of emails from a lot of dummies cursing me. Guys, this is very well established. Now today, maybe people are more aware of it, but 4 or 5 years ago when I mentioned it on the internet, for some reason, nobody knew. It's a very well established idea. Now, how do we reconcile the two? This is a question I get all the time. Guys, there are various ways, but I'm going to tell you guys one way that I find very compatible and easy to understand. Thing about The Simpsons. You've all watched The Simpsons. You remember the scene where Maggie, she's driving the car. The car turns left and Maggie's turning left. And then they show you a scene of Maggie turning right. And then they zoom out. They show you the car turning right. And it gives you the illusion that Maggie's driving. And then they zoom back out and you see, no, it's the mom driving. The mom is driving and Maggie's just in sync with the mom. And she's honking beep, beep at the same time. And it's just synchronized. When I reach for this water and I drink it, my desire inside, that will, okay, we live in the world of the mind. The mind is not the brain. The mind is that thing there, the ghost in the machine. Some philosophers will refer to it as the ghost in the machine. That thing that we can't put in a test tube. Like right now, I'm thinking of that glass of water in my mind right now. If scientists were to open my mind right now, split my brain open, they wouldn't find it. If Leibniz says, look, imagine you were really tiny, go walking around inside the brain, you wouldn't see that glass of water. However, me, coach, here, I'm seeing that glass of water. Where is it in space and time? Philosophers, we don't know. But George Berkeley, another great thinker, he says, look, esse percepi, to be is to be perceived. If something is perceived, it exists. I'm perceiving in my mind right now this glass of water. I'm looking at it in my mind. Where is it in time and space? We don't know. We call it the realm of the mind. It's a great mystery to thinkers. It's a great mystery. That inner workings, my mind, is completely disconnected from the fact that I grabbed this glass of water and drank it. I wanted to drink this water. And my hand and that volition, that agency of mine, are disconnected. Just like when Maggie was driving. It's really the mom it's really Marge that's doing the driving. It's not Maggie. Maggie's steering wheel is not connected to the system. Maggie's steering wheel is inert. This idea is called pre-established harmony. Okay, it's a Leibniz idea. I like it very much. I think it's easy to complain. There's another model that also works. It's called occasionalism. I won't get into it because it's a little bit complicated. It's more about like how cause and effect would work in a dream. But I don't want to get into it because it's going to be too much of a tangent, too much of explanation. I've talked about it in the past. I'll talk about it again in the future. Both of these worldviews are compatible. They're compatible in my opinion, and also these models are both extremely possible. One of them is from Leibniz. One is from another Muslim thinker named Al-Ashari, a very famous philosopher, thinker. And he deemed occasionalism. It's a sad thing that most Muslims don't know about occasionalism. It's a very, very sad thing. Very sad thing. However, it's one of the most brilliant thoughts, in my opinion, in the history of thinking. When I reach for this glass of water, my inner state, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it the soul. You want to call it the mind. You want to call it consciousness. Whatever it may be. We have no empirical data of this thing. Now remember, your inner workings of your mind is the one thing we have direct access to, we cannot deny. However, we can't prove it scientifically. There's no scientific evidence for it. The only reason a philosopher, another philosopher or physicist or scientist will believe me is because he's having that personal experience. It's complete bias. That personal experience of yours is telling you, hey, you want to grab that water, and then you reach out and you grab it. It's either occasionalism or it's pre-established harmony. Now Leibniz said, look, when they asked him, how could these two be so perfectly timed? It's like God playing billiard balls. He set a causal chain. He set a causal chain. He set off a causal chain because he knew what you would choose in the future. But because he knows what you're going to choose in the future, it doesn't mean you didn't choose. That's the important key. Is this thing within us is outside the causal chain. It is not tied to the causal chain. It is not affected by our genetics. Our genetics just affect the outer shell, the body, the flesh, what we know empirically. It doesn't touch the soul. The soul is not in any way affected by the causal chain. Your genetics don't create your thoughts. Our consciousness, our spirit, our soul, whatever that thing may be, the one thing we can't deny, but also the one thing we cannot prove scientifically. That's why when people ask me, is science absolute? I give them a resounding no. Philosophers, we give them a resounding no. Science is not absolute. What does it mean? Is science absolute? That means, is everything that can be known, is it only known? Like, do we only need science? If we know science, we know everything. There's nothing else missing. Like we're not. There's nothing missing in our epistemology. Like we can get to absolute truth. The answer would be a resounding no. The answer would be a resounding no. Suppose you live in a world of perfectly scientific robots. They have no consciousness. And you try to prove to them consciousness, you would be unable to. There is no logical argument and there is no scientific experiment you could produce that would prove to them you have a mind or a soul or consciousness or whatever you want to call it. So lo and behold, why would you consider that consciousness is part of the causal chain? It's not observed in the causal chain. It's not observed in the causal chain. So we can say, we can safely assume, we can posit that maybe it's not affected at all by the causal chain. And the other great arguments are why it's not. Hence, you have free will. There is a detachment from the causal chain. Because here's the thing. The causal chain is predictable. If you had the velocity of every atom in the universe, this is not my words. These are Pierre-Simon Laplace's words. And he's relying on the findings of Isaac Newton. He's saying this because of Isaac Newton's 3 laws of motion. He's saying, look, the whole system is predictable. Just give me the velocity of all these atoms. If I can compute at the level of God, I would know where your hand's going to be in 10, 20 years, 1,000 years from now. I'll know what your hand or the molecules or the particles of your hand, where they're going to be, what they're doing. I don't need to know anything about your personality. I'll tell you what you're going to do in the future. Yes, that is true. Even the atheists believe this. However, my volition is detached. So the greatest thought experiment I can give you is watch the Simpsons intro. I think I'm doing this. I think I'm doing that. But really, my volition is detached from the causal chain. Ultimately speaking, if God didn't put that in a causal chain, my volition, my desire to do something won't manifest. It won't manifest. And I have a lot of theories on what Islam means, what peace means. It has a lot to do with this. But most Muslims never got to this level of thinking. Most Muslims never understood this. Determinism is originally a Muslim idea. It's originally a Muslim idea. And now today, atheists and theists have wholeheartedly adopted it. As a matter of fact, anybody who rejects this idea, they're dismissed in high circles and the highest levels of philosophy. You're dismissed. You're seen as somebody who simply doesn't understand. You simply don't understand. There is no, guys, I'll tell you something. In philosophy, they tell us there is no break in the causal chain. There's no empty space in the causal chain. What does that mean? It's all out there. It's all fully explained. We don't need you. The you, the I, we don't need it, guys. We can observe the causal chain. We'll tell you all about it. The only reason they believe it is because they're having a personal experience of it themselves. That's why I will tell you that consciousness, the soul, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, that alien thing within us, is from another world. It's from somewhere else. It's not of the empirical world, this world, the world of elements. The periodic table of elements, it's not part of that world. Now, in the Quran, the Bible, what does it say? It says, well, God took Adam, took him from the soil, the elementary particles. The periodic table, he took the elements, he forged a body, and he breathed into him a spirit, a soul, whatever you want to call it, the ruh. Now, what is that thing? Well, it's divine. It's something extraterrestrial to the empirical world. Now, one great Muslim thinker, he wrote the first philosophical novel in history called Hayy bin Yaksan. And there's two introductions to how it's a story about, it's the story of Tarzan. The story of Tarzan was actually based on this story. Some young kid who grows up in nature. He's raised by a doe, a female deer. And there's two stories about how he got to that island. And basically, it's Ibn Tufal's way of telling you, look, human beings might have come about naturally, or they might have been put on the earth in an alien sense. I don't want to get too much in this topic, but he was just basically saying, look, to Islam, it doesn't make a difference because it could be either or for us. He's a great scholar of Islam, great thinker, very renowned thinker. I think he did a great job explaining Islam, determinism, explaining the soul. He did an incredible job, but he did through a story, which I found fantastic. And not only that, he wrote the first philosophical novel in history. Hats off to him. Salute to him. He did something so incredible, and he gets no credit for it. It's really mind-boggling. Brother, I hope that answers your question. I know it was long-winded, but it's a very complex question. I could have taken it in so many directions, but I try to keep it in a nutshell and make it easy to understand. Coach, you mentioned in a previous podcast that you prefer contemplation over meditation. Could you please walk us through a contemplation exercise? That's from O'Day. O'Day, well, I'll tell you something. Every day I study philosophy, science, history. And, you know, one of my favorite thinkers is Ibn Arabi. And I even hate to mention his name because he's such a controversial figure. And he said something that you're going to find maybe a little lame. He wrote something, he says, I have 1,000 hearts. He says, I had 1,000 hearts. And he wrote a lot of weird things that I think very few people can understand. Very few people will read his writings. They'll say to you, if they read it, if you give his writings to a person, anybody, even a very educated person, he's going to say, these are the writings of a madman. They're going to tell you, these are the writings of a madman. However, when I read them, I think, man, this guy was brilliant. Why? Because he had a certain experience that I feel I've shared. And I don't like to talk too much about it because it's going to be alien to everybody listening. That you could only understand what he's saying if you've had said experience. And that's it. If you've had said experience, you read his writings and you think this man's a genius. Now, in his writings, he said, look, I had 1,000 hearts. What is he trying to say? Well, he's saying, look, every human being is made of this stuff. I'm going to call it stuff. You could call it the soul. You could call it consciousness. We're made of this thing. We're having this awareness. We have a point of awareness within us all. This point of awareness, ultimately, it's not a point. Ultimately, it's not within us. If you contemplate about it enough, you'll realize that everything is within it. The concept of in and out, it's all within it. It's all contained within it. Your body actually is, aren't you aware of your body? When you touch your body, when you look at your body, like, your body is just another object manifesting in this thing. We can't even call it a point because your idea of point is enveloped within it. It encompasses everything and nothing encompasses it. It actually is a type of singularity that cannot even be formulated in it's the mind of God. Everything is within it. Everything you think is within it. You think it's within you. You think it's like this mysterious thing within your... You think it's behind your ears and in between your, it's behind your eyes and between your ears. That's completely false. That location I just mentioned is actually within it. It's all, your whole world is going to have to flip 180 degrees. Similar, it's a new Copernican revolution. Copernicus, he told the world, it's not the sun going around the earth. It's the earth going around the sun. You guys got it backwards. You guys got it perfectly backwards. All your greatest thinkers, imagine tomorrow, the flat earthers are right. Man, would that be humiliating? Well, guess what? Go back in antiquity. Read the greatest thinkers. The greatest thinkers thought the earth was the center of the universe and the sun was going around the earth. And everybody thought, the guys who thought that it was the other way around were the flat earthers of the day. Yes, they were mocked. They were humiliated. Aristotle had a lot of great arguments about why earth is the center of the universe. Think about it. Look, when I drop my phone. Look, everything's falling towards the center of the earth. Now, I know we have explanations for why. But in his day, he was like, look, don't you notice everything's pulling down towards earth? Why? Why does an object float? Everything goes up, it has to come back down. He's like, wait a second. If the earth was rotating, this is Aristotle now. If the earth was actually rotating, I should feel a rush of air. Think about it. When your horse pulls you on a chariot, you feel a gust of air. Think about when you're driving in your car and you stick your hand out the window. You feel a rush of air, don't you? Aristotle's like, hey, wait a second. If the earth was... Now, we have explanations for why you don't feel a rush of air. Yes, the earth is revolving around the sun. We all know that. I'm not trying to argue for the opposite. I'm just trying to tell you, they didn't know this. The Greeks didn't know that, okay, all the oxygen is also moving along with the earth. And also, the earth has a type of magnetic shield. Didn't know about atmosphere, didn't have these ideas. And the atmosphere is invisible to them. If you told Aristotle about atmosphere, he'd be like, how do you know that? Like that's a ghost in your mind. Guys, believe me when I tell you, he was a brilliant human being, guys. Aristotle, no doubt, changed the face of the earth with his ideas. He got some things wrong. I'm highlighting some of the things he got wrong. He got a lot of things correct. Aristotle literally mapped out how logic works. He was one of the most brilliant human beings to ever walk the face of the earth. Don't you dare anybody look down on this man. However, he was wrong. He was human, like everybody else. Okay, like we are wrong about so many things today. We're just not aware of it. I said this also on the Rogan Show. The internet broke. There are so many things we believe today that we have so much evidence for that we're completely wrong. Our paradigms are completely wrong. Now back to Aristotle. He had other great proofs for why we're the center of the earth. Guys, he was wrong. The center of the universe, and why he believed that it was the sun rotating around the earth, not the earth rotating around the sun. There were very few people saying, no, the sun is the center and it's the earth going around. They were the flat earthers of the day. Then Copernicus comes along. Guys, everybody, all the great thinkers thought the sun goes around the earth. The Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Greeks, everybody, the Romans, everybody, until Copernicus came along and proved us wrong. Proved the whole history of thinkers wrong. You got it 100% wrong. It's actually the complete opposite of what you believed. Now, intellectually, we also have this paradigm. Intellectually, if you reach a certain level of skepticism that's much higher than Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins, he's in the kiddie pool. Richard Dawkins is not a sophisticated thinker. To philosophers, we look down on Richard Dawkins. We look down on him. Not down on him as in terms of humanity, just in his level of thinking. It's weak. It's weak. It's pathetic. He's in the kiddie pool of skeptics. He's in the kiddie pool, guys. We even call it Cartesian doubt. You have a special name for this type of doubt. It's so high that we get to a point where there's only one thing left we can't doubt, and it's this thing that I just described previously, this awareness within us all. And again, it's not within us all. You get to the point where, guys, Mark my words. I'll stand by this forever. What I'm about to say. And bring me bring me your greatest scholar. I'll say this to him firmly, and he will never be able to dispute this point. Truth is a religious experience. Ultimate truth. Truth without blemish. Without even a hint of subjectivity. Absolute objective truth is a religious experience. The greatest thinkers reach this level. Anybody who got close but didn't make it to this level, we just call them skeptics, radical skeptics. They never made it to this point. Guys, imagine there's a point in the human experience where when you doubt, now you've proved something. Your doubt is proof of existence. Now, Avicenna gave us a great clue to this. He said, look, can you doubt existence? The second you doubt it, you've proved it, because your doubt is existing. Existence is a religious experience. It's a first-hand experience. There is no scientific experiment or logical argument that encompasses this experience. Hence, it's only known intuitively, directly. This is a very complicated topic, but this inner awareness within us all, it's not known empirically. It's not known logically. That's why science and logic is not enough. It's not enough. We need something else. That's why atheism is, by and large, is 100% incorrect and is a dead end. It leads only to one thing: nihilism. Ultimately, if you understand atheism, if you're not a naive atheist, and you're gonna understand atheism eventually, it's gonna come at the last minute of your life will feel like an eternity. You will know nihilism. Now, you're asking me, what is contemplation? I read thinkers of the past and I contemplate their ideas. Now, Ibn Arabi, what I was saying earlier, he's saying, look, this inner thing within me that I just described, everybody in the world has it. So he says, why does he say I have 1,000 hearts? It might sound a little lame, guys, but it's actually an incredible statement. He's saying, look, I can transport myself and put myself in your shoes. If I practice this enough, I can consider myself nearly having the same experience you're having. So I can assess you. Okay, your ability to reason is such, your history was like this, your culture is like that. I study your culture. I study your beliefs. I study your worldviews. I get to know and understand you. And then I try to transport myself. I assume you're made of the same inner stuff that I am. And then I try to see the world through your eyes. Not as a Lebanese guy who lives in Canada, a Muslim guy with this. No. I forget all that. I transport you. And this, in my opinion, is one of the highest levels of contemplation, because then you can truly understand empathy. You can truly understand. Think about this, okay? The ultimate worldview is all worldviews. God has every world. God understands every single worldview. Now, we cannot attain God level understanding of the world. No. However, one philosopher named Hegel, he expressed a very similar sentiment to what Imam Arabi said, Ibn Arabi said, okay? Hegel, another crazy thinker, okay? He's saying, look at human beings. They're slowly crawling their way out of the darkness and climbing their way to godhood, if I can use that term. He's saying, look, if he saw the internet, it would blow his mind. He'd say, look, you see, I predicted it. He's saying, look at human beings. The internet of his day were books. That's how we share information. If he saw the World Wide Web the way it is today, he would have been like, look, it's exactly what I predicted. He's saying human beings are coming out of the darkness. We're becoming more and more enlightened. We're becoming more and more aware. We're reaching higher and higher levels that we're collectively kind of becoming closer and closer to God. Think about this. He thought he found the purpose of life. He thought, like, as everybody before me never figured this out. He's saying, look, humanity as a whole is coming closer and closer to mirroring God. Now, of course, in the Bible, Quranic traditions, the Abrahamic traditions, God is made in the man is made in the image of God. So he's like, hey, you see, ultimately speaking, we're mirroring God more and more. How? We're becoming more and more enlightened. Now, look, obviously we never reach godhood, but we're becoming more and more, I wouldn't use the word godhood, okay? In Abrahamic religions, you're really not supposed to do that. But we're reflecting the light of God more and more. We're becoming wiser, more empathetic, more collectively moral, less and less selfish. We have greater levels of empathy. Guys, if you've studied human history, you know exactly what I'm saying. Human history is just a bloodbath. Like, this is literally the most peaceful time in history. Literally, today is the most peaceful time in history. Especially now with the World Wide Web. If somebody commits a crime, we all film it. We all expose them. We all collectively critique people. Look at the Russian war. Every time Russians do something, they put it on the internet. People despise Russia right now. Why? You're spreading violence. Look what happened. Israel bombed Palestine recently, or the time before when they were campaigning, settling on their lands. One video went viral. Some Israeli guy told a Palestinian woman, "If I don't steal your land, somebody else will." He got destroyed in social media. Destroyed. So much so, it affected one of the most powerful governments in Israel, their ability to campaign against Palestinians. They had to literally stop acquiring their land. They literally got so much negative press. Every second somebody was on the internet criticizing them. Same thing with Russia. Every time now you try to invade a country, every time now you try to use violence, you're going to be heavily critiqued. So much so that the Russians were not parading, I should say. They were contesting. They were protesting against Putin, which is unheard of. Literally, people were getting 15 years for holding up an empty sign. People were in the streets marching. Why? They know the bad guy in this story. Now, look, I'm not trying to get into politics here. I don't want to judge Russian people or anything like that. Recently, I got a message from a Russian saying, "Hey, I can't buy anything from Juji Club. Visa won't allow me to process my order. They've banned us." I told my guy sent me, he's like, "What do you want me to do with him?" Special thank you to Noor, guys. I don't know if he's listening to this podcast, but he's the tech support for Juji Club. I told him, send it to him for free. Ask him what he wants and give it to him for free as a gift. Why should that guy suffer for Putin's decisions? I have nothing against my Russian friends. I'm not pro-war. I'm very against the Putin war. And I'm definitely against war, unjustified war. And I think most wars are unjustified. I'm not pro-U.S. invasion is what I'm trying to say also. I do believe that the U.S. is guilty in many ways. A topic for another day. Anybody out there an expert in that topic, well-known expert, I would love to have a discussion over this. But again, this is not my lane. Okay, I don't want to go too far into this, but I do believe that a lot of wars out there were highly unjustified and there were monetary incentives. That's the bottom line. But this is a topic for another day. Ibn Arabi was saying something very similar to Hegel. He was saying, look, if you contemplate people's positions, you try to put yourself in those shoes, now you could start getting closer at the truth. Why is everybody disagree? You start having, this is psychology, guys. This is a deep level of psychology. You're not only trying to understand their arguments, you're trying to understand why they're arguing like this. Guys, this is very profound, but this is where contemplation can lead you. You could start kind of definitely not reading people's mind, absolutely not, but understanding people's minds. Even better than the individual themselves, because they lack that awareness. They don't realize their biases. And we all have them. And then you start becoming more understanding of your biases. And it can be quite a scary thing. Contemplation, guys, is I listen to an argument. We just contemplate it together right now. I think about it. I look about it from every angle. I listen to other people's arguments, pros and cons. Why do they believe? I'm fascinated with why people believe anything. If you tell me you believe in something, I'm curious about it. You have to be curious about it. I find it's far superior than meditation, even though meditation has its place. Contemplation, in my opinion, is king. And it'll eventually lead you to insights. Guys, we just had an exercise in contemplation right now. Guys, we have a $99 super chat. I'm going to get to it, I promise. I just believe I have a few more. My screen just froze. I don't know why. Omar Init, back in the UK from visiting TriStar. Thank you for such an amazing experience. Omar, thank you for visiting, man. It was amazing having you. All right, what else we got here? What are sweeps that work from De La Hiva No Gi? That's from Joe McCarthy. Joe, hang tight. My next video is reverse De La Hiva. I'm shooting it this weekend. It should be out early next week. Check it out. It'll be on jujiclub.com. I will show you my favorite sweeps from De La Hiva. Bone Hunter sent me a $99 super chat with no question. Bone Hunter, you are a gentleman and a scholar. I salute you. Fabian, $4.99. Fabian B, thank you. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Appreciate it. What else we got here? Hello, Coach. What do you think Prime Roger Gracie do against Gordon Ryan? I think Roger wins. 2005 ADCC. Win 100% submission rate as well. Did he have 100% submission rate in 2005? I can't remember, but if you're telling me, I take your word for it. I think Gordon beats him, guys. I hate to say it, guys, and I love Roger. I've trained with Roger and Gordon. Why am I saying Gordon's greatest of all time? He dominated his peers more than Roger Gracie dominated his peers. They were both great. They were both incredibly dominant. Gordon was more dominant. Even though he didn't sub one fighter, it's just one. It happens. But the fact that he won the super fight and 99 plus in the same day, the way he beat Galvao, guys, Galvao is a legend. Make no mistake about it. He's a legend. He just got crushed. Can't hear you, Coach. I'm getting a lot of people saying, we're good, we're good. I think there was a lag, guys. My apologies if there was a lag. Uh-oh. I got audio on my side, guys. Please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a thumbs up if audio is working. If audio is working, please give me a thumbs up. Okay, thumbs up, guys. I think it was just the internet lagging. Reloaded the video and audio started working. Okay, guys. If the audio is not working, you just have to reload. That's not me, guys. That's YouTube. The internet is a great propaganda machine while also being a great anti-propaganda machine. That's from Young Joe. 100% right. Guys, the internet has made information so accessible. You have no more excuse for being uneducated. You have no more excuse. You have no excuse. Guys, I take great delight in the internet. I love information. I just absorb. I'm telling you, I listen to speeches, documentaries, lectures, audiobooks all day long. It's a great pleasure for me. Even when I shower, guys, I play my media. I got to learn something. My mind has to be fed. Hungry for information. When I drive, I don't listen to music. I drive. When I sleep, I listen to audio. Guys, I love it. It's a great pleasure. If I'm not with my kids, I'm listening to audio. When I travel, I'm listening to audio. There is so much to know. I got a long playlist of thousands of videos. I have to get to them all. I got books. It's incredible, man. You no longer have to sit there and read. It's fatiguing. Reading could be fatiguing, especially a guy with dyslexia like me. Can anyone come train at TriStar Gym? That's from Christian. Of course, all are welcome, my friends. All are welcome. If you want to go to TS dorms, check out the dorms. I have the email. If you guys want to stay at the dorms, you can also stay at the dorms. Any aspects of Islam difficult for you to accept? That's from Dre Foreman. No, none whatsoever. None at all. Not one single thing at all. Coach, you missed my super chat. That's from Aladdin. Aladdin, type it right now so I don't miss it. Type it right now. No need to super chat again. I'll try to find it. I'm doing my best to find Aladdin's super chat. Aladdin, type it in the description right now. I'm going to scroll down shortly. Bone Hunter. How did I miss Aladdin? Guys, super chat's coming in. Aladdin, I don't see it. Oh, man. I hope you typed it again. Aladdin, I'm waiting for you to type it in the chat. Aladdin, okay. I want to train at Denahar, but 2 hours away. I'm full-time college student. Any tips on how I can balance my school with training at Denahar? That's from Aladdin. Aladdin, it's worth it. Go on the weekend. Go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He trains 7 days a week. John Denahar runs practice 7 days a week. I believe he teaches like 3 classes a day. I also teach 3 classes a day, but 5 days a week. And then on Saturday, I teach 1 class. Actually 2. 1 or 2. Okay. So I find it's crazy to do 7. I think your body needs a break. I think it's unhuman. It's inhuman. I recommend you go Friday, Saturday, Sunday and study the rest of the week. That's what I would do. That's what I used to do when I traveled to New York to train with him. And that was 6 hours away. Okay. So I highly recommend you visit him. And look, I study in the car. Guys, before audiobooks was a thing, I used to go to university, write notes, then record my notes on a cassette. You guys don't remember cassettes. A lot of you are too young. I used to record my notes. Then I would have them on tape. I would play them all the time when I would travel. From traveling to New York, 6 hours of audio tape on the way there, on the way back. When I drive to the gym, that's half an hour there, half an hour back. That's an hour of me hearing, talk. And you could record your professors also lecturing. Just always listening to the material over and over again. Then it gets stuck in your brain. Of course, I'm also a lover of mnemonics. I also use mnemonics, but that's not something you want to learn during your semester. That's something you do in the summer when you're off semester. You learn mnemonics. Christopher Columbus sailed the sea blue 1492. Hold on, let me see if I got that right. That's an old one. That's a really old one. It was 14. I still remember. This is an old mnemonic. 14, 2. Let me double check. That's an old one. I haven't practiced in a long time. What year did he sail? Let me see if 1492. I got it right. That's an old mnemonic I haven't used in many, many years. It just popped in my head. Guys, mnemonics, rhymes, rhyming, listening. If you study and you're training, guys, I went to university, competed, and graduated. It was hell, tough, and I had a personal life. It was hell. But studying, guys, I have all bunch of tricks for studying. But definitely, the best trick is to record your professor or record your notes. Notes is better. Ultimately, they're better. And listen to it over and over again. Guys, I used to go to my tests still listening to it. I used to have my cassette on until they give me the test. I take out the thing, my earphones, and start the test. What do you think about YouTube boxing? Prophecy Zero. I think it's cool. I think it's cool, man. I like YouTube boxing. I haven't watched the recent ones, but it was really cool. Coach, can we record our rolls when we train at TriStar? That's from Floyd. Oh, well, if you get the permission of the person you're rolling with, yeah. But generally, I'd rather you be a regular. And if you're a regular, then you can start filming. There's a few guys who film their rolls, but I like for people to get the permission from the person they're rolling with, make sure everybody's comfortable. Hadadin, I missed a super chat from Hadadin. Oh, super chat, $5 from Hadadin. Thank you, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar. All right, guys, I think we're winding down here a little bit. Maybe I'm going to do one more. Let's end it on a fun one. Coach, I'm overweight and never done MMA. What would be the best martial arts to start with? That's a great question, guys. That is such a great question. Let me just see something here. I think there's a way for me to scroll and see all the super chats. Oh. You'd think they'd give me a place to see all the super chats. All right, guys. This is a great question. What is the best way to lose weight? I would tell you the number one cardio tool to lose weight. Number one is kettlebell. Okay, number one. Kettlebell, they've done studies, people lifting weights, people jogging versus people doing kettlebell. Okay, I'm doing this by memory. It might not be 100% accurate, but kettlebell group lost 6%. The weightlifting group lost 4%, and the runners lost 2% body fat. The kettlebell is the best. It marries the two. It's weights and cardio at the same time. If I'm trying to trim down, I like to do 1 minute bag work. That's my favorite cardio, is kickboxing. So my answer for you is kickboxing and kettlebell. Together is the ultimate. If I want to lose 10 pounds in 10 days, I will do this workout. I put on MMA gloves, I shadow box, I warm up, I do my bag routine, I hit the bag 1 minute, I do my kettlebell. 1 minute kettlebell, 1 minute bag. I do that for about 6 minutes, 1 minute break. I'll do 3 to 4 rounds. I don't go too hard. Guys, pick up my kettlebell, strong and stable kettlebell. It's worth it. I teach you in 1 hour how to master the kettlebell. There's no fluff. There's no ridiculous exercises. I know people do kettlebell videos where, number one, their technique is poor. Number two, they're showing you every weird kettlebell exercise that you should never do. I don't recommend these exercises. These are fluff exercises just meant to wow you. You need to stick to the basics. Overhead press, jerk, lunge, clean and jerk, split jerk, swing, one arm swing, like American style swing. These are the core maneuvers. This is what you need to master. It's going to build you the most power, the most explosiveness, the most endurance. Of course, you should also Turkish get up. It's all in the video. It's going to keep your body pristine and in shape. And if you want to burn fat, guys, the kettlebell is the best. Plus the bag work. In my opinion, man, you'll shut the pounds. Then after that, I'll probably do a basics class in jiu-jitsu. Ultimately, guys, for just strict martial arts, I would say kickboxing is the best for shedding weight. But the thing is, you need to add muscle. If you just kickbox, I feel like you're going to get a little bit scrawny, skinny. Some guys might look good because they have natural level of muscle, but you could lose muscle doing too much kickboxing. Okay, so that's why I like having the kettlebell there. Now, look, I might do 1 minute kettlebell, 1 minute bag work for like 3 rounds of 6 minutes, and then I might just finish off with just regular bag work. Some days I won't do that routine. I'll just work bag work. So maybe Monday you do the kettlebell routine that I described, 1 minute striking the bag, 1 minute kettlebell for 3 6-minute rounds. Then on Tuesday, you might be a little bit sore. No need for the kettlebell. The kettlebell, you don't have to do it every day. Maybe once, twice a week. Kettlebell will put muscle on you. And if you do a bag routine every day, which I find kickboxing is the funnest sport, especially when you're doing it at a gym, you're doing it collectively. Like when we do kickboxing classes, an hour passes, like it feels like a minute, and you're drenched from head to toe. Like I personally can't do like fitness training. Like I do a little bit. Like when I do conditioning, I do like it's 5. Like today I did a really fun, hardcore conditioning. It's a 10-minute workout. That's it. I can't do 45-minute weight routine. I can't do it. Okay, bench press. Okay, we're going to do cable press, and then we're going to do pull-up. Then we're going to superset, tricep pull down, bicep. Oh, my God. That would destroy my motivation. Like, I've tried it, guys. It's hell, man. It's the most boring, most unentertaining, I don't know how guys do it. When you grapple, when you roll, when you do a sport you love, like you might not love grappling, but you got to find what you love. Like I love martial arts. For me, when I train 2-3 hours, it passes real fast. I'm enjoying myself. I'm playing a video game in my mind. Also, guys, I just saw in the chat somebody mentioned Khamzat. Guys, I didn't do the Khamzat post-fight analysis only because I mentioned earlier in the podcast. Unfortunately, we had a death on the team, so I didn't feel it was appropriate. However, now. I would like to comment on Khamzat. Guys, that was an incredible performance. I know you guys all know that, but I have to say it. I can't just let it happen and not mention it. It was stunning. It was a stunning performance. I know he didn't make weight, so we have to put an asterisk on that performance. Guys, he missed by 8 pounds. That is colossal. That is unacceptable. And I love Khamzat. I'm a huge Khamzat fan. A huge Khamzat fan. We just can't let him get away with that. His opponent had made weight. Holland had made weight. I believe he weighed in at 169, so they had a 9 pound difference. The next day, it must have been a 20 pound weight difference. Still, it was a stunning victory. But still, as stunning of a victory it is, you can't miss weight by 8 pounds, guys. I'm sorry. It's unacceptable. Diaz also did a great job. Guys, I told you in the pre-fight analysis, he has a great guillotine. Even though I was talking about him fighting Khamzat, how he can win. Maybe guillotine. I didn't say he would win by guillotine. I said it's unlikely, but the only way I could see him winning is if Khamzat gets tired and he puts it on him, which I don't see happening, and or also maybe a guillotine. He has an incredible guillotine. He did guillotine Ferguson and put on a stunning finish. Okay, guys, it was so much fun. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you liked. I hope you guys share. I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope it was positive for you. I had fun as always. Please like, share, comment, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you.